How's it going, everybody? Sunday night live stream, 9 o'clock. Well, 9:02. I'm a couple minutes late. But hopefully, you're all doing well. The world has gone crazy since the last time we met. And so I don't think we have anything else. There's no other option of what to talk about. We have to talk about coronavirus. So let's do that. Need my extra light there. So tell me how your weekend is going, what you're up to, and let's have a conversation tonight. I think there's a really interesting conversation to be had for coronavirus, and I think that conversation for me needs to revolve around, what can we do as individuals um, to make this whole thing go smoother. And so that's what I want to talk about today. So let me just pull up the comments here. I see several of you are on. I see comments popping all over the place. So let's see what we got here. Drink kombucha. That's like step one on coronavirus. Definitely help you. Kelly is in the house, and she's first. Kelly, we missed you at church today. Um, Hopefully, you figure out how the alarm works on your phone. That DCB's in the house. Melissa's here. Meatloaf says, "What's up, shorty?" I don't think that's like a term of endearment like it was in the 2000s and the 90s, but I think that is more of a joke regarding my height, and I just don't appreciate that. So I'm just gonna leave that at that, and I'm gonna let it slide. I'm just gonna move on. Kevin is upset that he is fifth tonight. Kelly beat her dad, not physically. Meatloaf says I ruined the joke, and that was completely my intention. I'm glad that I ruined it. So, I don't know. Let's talk about this thing. So, last Sunday night, coronavirus was a thing. Obviously, Washington State was dealing with it pretty heavy. Since then, we've seen the number of cases drastically move upwards. I haven't watched today's at all. I've been trying to avoid the media. I actually had a really great day. I started the garden today, which is craziness to start the garden this early, but let's see. Coronavirus update. There's like a really cool interactive map where you can track all the cases worldwide. It's pretty neat. So, United States did not have many extra cases reported today. 1,678 cases in the United States, which is still very low. The concern is that, the cases started out very low in Italy and started out very low in China. And now you see basically Italy, the whole nation is shut down. China, I have a friend, Craig, that's in China. I saw his mom had posted. Basically, they were on house lockdown for 6 weeks straight. They didn't really leave their house for 6 weeks. That's craziness, and that's tough to understand, like how something like that could possibly happen. But it's really interesting just to see kind of the different reactions worldwide. And the United States, it feels right now like it feels like a major overreaction. But at the same time, if it does slow it down, or flatten the curve, as the current lingo is. If it does that and it succeeds, then it's going to be a really great thing. And so, um, temporary inconvenience either way. It appears that things will definitely get worse before they get better. But who knows? It could just all stop suddenly, and we don't really need need all of this stuff. If we find that, hey, sunshine is really great, like it is for flu season, maybe that will be what kind of slows this whole thing down, like people talked about from the beginning. Or it won't, and maybe we'll have, what are they estimating, 50, 60 million infections and a million plus deaths. If that happens, obviously that would be one of the most catastrophic events in the history of the United States. It would be double the amount of people that died during World War II, which is difficult to comprehend, having that kind of population loss in one go. It would be a really historic event. Or this could, like I said, or it could not really happen, and nothing really goes over with it. Kelly says, I think Corona is stupid and completely overworried. It could be, and it might not be. I'm not sure. Um, it's really tough to tell at this point. Obviously, in Italy, it's pretty serious that it shut down their entire nation. Um, and who knows? It could be that we've had, maybe it's been around in the United States for longer than we think, and maybe a million people already have had it, and it's already been here and gone. That's very possible as well. And I don't really, I hear a couple people talking about that, but at the same time, it's not really super prevalent. People are calling it the boomer remover on Twitter. Twitter is a wild, wild place. And yes, definitely, more elderly you are, seems to be the higher risk. Also, if you're overweight, if you have diabetes, which a lot of times those two things coincide. If you have obviously respiratory problems, that's a major issue. So yeah, I mean, that's why, I mean, from a personal, from like my immediate family, I'm not concerned at all. My wife and I are both incredibly healthy, and my kids are all under 9 years old. There hasn't been a single death worldwide that I've seen on any statistics of a death of a child under 10 years old from coronavirus. And so that part doesn't concern me at all. But that being said, I'm connected with a lot of older people, either through the church or through wherever. I know lots of people over 60. A lot of my customers are over 60, and so it is a concern from that perspective. Like, you know, I don't want to get, I don't want to have it and not have any symptoms, and then still pass it on to somebody, and then they get sick and die. Like, that's not a very good scenario at all. So, we don't want that to happen. Summer's in the house. Good to have you, Connie. We missed you today. I don't know if you were sick or what was going on, but hopefully you're doing okay. Chris agreed too. Do you think this is politically motivated? That's a great question. And at this point, honestly, I'm not sure. I don't think that, I don't think the virus itself is politically motivated. I am kind of on the conspiracy theory board of this thing being like man made. Uh, I think the stories that have kind of been swept under the rug of the Harvard person who was in charge of setting up a lab in Wuhan province in China uh, was arrested for getting money that he wasn't supposed to get, and a lot of shady stuff seemed to be going on. I don't know if that's connected at all to this, but man, it sure seemed, the timing of the story sure seemed coincidental. And so But that being said, I don't think it was released by the government or anything like that. But I do believe both sides are attempting to use it for political gain, and I think that's to be expected, especially in an election year. Um, but yeah, it's really yeah. I don't want to necessarily go that route with our conversation because I'll start sounding like a conspiracy nut. Um, but I wouldn't rule it out. I'll just put it that way, Chris. I'm just not sure that it matters at this point. YMCA classes canceled. I saw that today. I saw in Ohio they closed down every restaurant. There's no sit down restaurants open in the state of Ohio until further notice, which is totally bizarre. Um, Imagine how many people are going to be out of work there for extended period of time. I don't know how they're going to make up for that. Honestly, it just doesn't. That kind of stuff is difficult to comprehend the reasoning why. Sorry, I'm reading through comments here. Kelly's in the house. Good to have you, Kelly. Chris says, "How did they autopsy the 30 elderly people that fast that died in Washington State personal care home and come up with the same conclusion that it's the virus?" That's a good question. I know for the most part, they've been just checking people's X-rays of their lungs, and there's a I can't remember what they called it, but basically it's like it looks cloudy from all of the cells. The coronavirus just attacks the cells in your lungs and in your bronchial tubes, and so they can see like kind of a clouding or a lining on your lungs from all those dead cells. And if your body can't clear them out fast enough, obviously it's going to clog up your lungs. If your body can't fight off the infection fast enough, it does major damage, and then you're not able to breathe. And so, if you're already at risk for your lungs, or if you're elderly, or whatever the case may be, I think it's can happen a lot faster. Obviously, I don't know if they autopsied and really did the test and figured that out, Chris. I don't have that information at all, but I do believe that from an X-ray they could probably get a pretty good idea of what they have there. Summer says, "This thing would wipe me out, but I'm not in fear or worried at this point anyway." I think that's the point that I want to ultimately get to. That's why when I preached today on it, and I preached that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but given us a spirit of power, of love, and self-control. And so that's right out of 2 Timothy chapter 1, verses 6 through 8. And so I preached that today, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I really believe that we as individuals, we need to, especially as Christians, uh, like I'm not scared of where I'm going. Even if this thing was like Ebola level, that is something that would take me out. I still would like to believe that I would want to be one of the ones that's helping, that's trying to help people that are infected, help people that are in need of things during the time when stores are shut down and whatever that's going to look like. I'm real curious, like, are there enough of us that want to be helpers in a city like Kittanning or even in a county like Armstrong that we would be able to, using social media, kind of aggregate a list of needs. And so if somebody needed, milk for their baby and they weren't able to get out of the house for transportation or the store wasn't open, could we find them a gallon of milk and get it to their house? If we could meet just even small needs like that, uh, we could, I think, make a big difference in people's lives and potentially save some people's lives. Have a lot of people that, if this would really hit, if you said, say, 3,000 people in Armstrong County get sick to the point where they need to get into the hospital. Well, the hospital is not going to be able to take nearly that many people. And so at that point, they're going to be trying to take care of themselves at home the best that they can, and they're going to need help. People are going to need, people to deliver, Gatorade, or whatever the need is going to be, or bring them food, or bring them some kind of help. I think that would be an amazing mission and a great way to kind of spread God's love in the time of major, major crisis. Now, that being said, this could all be completely unnecessary, and it may just never hit here. It may never, be able to actually, you know, none of this may be necessary at all. And so, if that's the case, then great. But I think we at least need to start thinking about it and start having a conversation in the kind of lead up to what might be a really catastrophic situation. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on something like that, because I'd be very interested to be a part of it, and I'd obviously God's given me a platform to be able to reach a lot of people in something like that, and so why not use the platform to do something really great? The Sweetness Love says the end of the world. Yeah, you never know, man. But if you read Revelation, I don't think so. I think it's the end of the world is going to be way, way worse than this. Way worse. This isn't even like scratching the surface of what the book of Revelation looks like. So Alexia is here. Good to have you. Kevin says, that's why I love the closing, although it feels a bit overboard. Better safe than sorry. Let's stop it sooner than later. Yeah, I mean, I'm not totally against it, I guess. I don't know. I just feel like I'm always about personal choice. Which maybe, I guess, in a time like this, if you can't rely on people to make the right choice, then, you got to do what you got to do. But, like, with church, I put on Facebook, hey, we're having church. If you don't feel comfortable coming, please don't come, and just know there won't be any judgment for anyone that can't make it. That's kind of my attitude about just about everything. Like, if you don't like it, don't participate in it. That's great, and there won't be any judgment from me. I'm totally good on that. So, but I can understand, if not everyone has the full amount of information, they're not making an informed decision. They show up, they get sick, or they spread it to a dozen other people, and then you have 20 more cases in the hospital from those 12 people, and who knows? It could be really crazy. So. 3D Maker Kid back in the house. Good to have you, man. It's been a long time. You missed our second meetup we had yesterday. Super fun for my birthday at East BRA. Had a great time. I bet we had 50 people come in and out of there. And sold a whole lot of coffee. Or I bought a whole lot of coffee. DCB says, I was at the Walmart in Natrona Heights and the shelves were bare. Yeah, it's getting a little crazy as far as people stockpiling. I don't really understand it. There's really not there's no way that people need as much stuff as they're buying. But we don't need as much stuff as we have either. But you're going to see the capitalistic system take over. Walmart and Aldi and all those places, they're going to fill the stores back up a lot faster than you think. And they're ready. They're going to be that whole machine is going to kick in, and I don't think we're going to have a shortage of toilet paper or anything else. They're just going to really. I think we're going to prove what the power of capitalism is, and their stock price is going to look really great a quarter from now, I bet, as well, from all the extra sales. People's credit card bills, I bet, are not going to look very, very friendly. Summer says, I believe it is population control without the fear of getting caught or feeling guilty. I'm sure there are other reasons in combination. Yeah. I mean, I totally have looked in and seen the movies on all that kind of stuff. I don't doubt it, honestly. I don't doubt it. But at the same time, if that's how God has ordained this thing to end, then so be it. I'm just gonna keep trying to tell people about Jesus until he returns. That's all. That's all I know that my job is. So I'm gonna keep doing that. I'm gonna keep loving on people, keep trying to help people, and keep trying to preach the good news. Garden guys in the house. Just let me know if you need help relocating a community garden. I absolutely will do that, Tyler. I really appreciate you, and hopefully we'll have a garden space ready to begin working on that in the near future. If it doesn't happen real soon, and it's not a place that we can do, I may hold off until the end of summer, and we can build that thing throughout the fall. Hopefully, get it ready to go, get mulch over the entire thing for the wintertime, and then be able to plant fresh next year. I'm not sure how that's all going to go, but yeah. Kevin says I could see China getting into some population control. Yeah, I mean they have. They're the masters of it, right? They had the one-child policy for how long, and they've forcibly aborted hundreds of millions of babies, which is one of the greatest tragedies in the history of humanity. And yeah, wouldn't surprise me at all for them. Have you guys ever watched any of the movies about how they think 5G? It's a total conspiracy theory, but the 5G networks and coronavirus, and it's like this whole conspiracy theory. I watched one of those the other night, or the first half of it or so, and man, that was pretty wild. I don't think that there's anything necessarily to that, but man, it was crazy. Did anyone tell the Amish? Spider's Axe wants to know. I think I'm assuming they know, but they probably don't care a whole lot. um, Similar to how probably I feel about it. Sweetness says, I don't know if it's a biometric weapon to finish everyone. Um, yeah, it's really interesting, and part of that conspiracy theory thing I watched was, this will all be, then they'll come out with the coronavirus vaccine, and that will be, the actual like thing that you don't want, which is totally possible too. I don't know. Garden Guy says, I want to congratulate you for the new church. Thank you. Much appreciated. We're moving full speed ahead on that. We are planning to move the church on the 28th, final service at Living Water, our current church, on the 29th, and first service in the new church on April 5th, and grand opening service on April 12th, which is Easter Sunday. So mark your calendars for that, and definitely make it if you can. We would love to fill up that place on that day specifically. Meatloaf is back. You're welcome for the blessing, she says. So BC is measuring years before Christ, I think. So would we be in 2020 after Christ? Yes. And it's 2020 AD. So is how they do it. But yes, you're correct. Kevin says, if you need anyone to deliver milk or other kid stuff, I will gladly do it on my bicycle. Awesome. Very good. Chris says, hopefully this gets people to reach out and look out for one another. What about the elderly? Some are afraid to go anywhere. Yeah, and hopefully, the elderly will have at least some young person connected to them, or if we could hear about them, and then we could just do well checks on them every now and again. What do you need? How can we help you? Those kinds of things. I think that would be amazing. Garden Guy says, to tell you the truth, I think the virus is the devil's work, trying to scare and worry people, but that don't scare me. God is here to protect you. Yes, absolutely. I think if we know, if you have a relationship with Jesus, like you're good anyway, right? Like if God wants to take me home, I know where I'm going. And so I don't feel like there's no reason for me to be scared about anything anywhere. So that's how I feel about that part. Now, obviously, not everyone is that way. Even not everyone in the church is that way. But I'm ready to go anytime. My wife is probably more scared of me dying than I am. Melissa says, although she'd have a lot of insurance money, so she shouldn't be scared anyway. Melissa says, whatever kind of help, I will help you, Pastor Andy, in any way. I'm glad we are keeping church open. Yes, absolutely. Josiah says, I would really prefer not to do my online schoolwork. Yeah, no way around that, probably, though. Although I heard that in Pennsylvania, they not only closed the regular schools, but also closed the cyber school, which doesn't really make any sense to me. Cyber school should be fully on and ready to go. Although they're probably scared of kids leaving the regular school and going to cyber school because of this, and so they probably don't want the competition, but that's a whole different thing. Summer says, I've thought about the elderly all day, ones that need medications, food, and yes, even tissue paper. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's, certainly between all of us, we could round up a lot of rolls of toilet paper if everyone was willing to give a few to people that needed them. And so we could make sure that they had food, and if they needed a prescription delivered, we could hopefully work out something to make that happen. There would be a multitude of things that we could help with, I would think. Meatloaf says, why does the sword come from Christ's mouth in Revelation? Is it an actual sword, or is it deeper meaning, like his words cutting down the enemy? I think you're onto it there, Meatloaf, with the deeper meaning. This in Ephesians, actually, they refer to the sword of the Spirit, and it is the word of God. And so um, I think it's more referring to that than an actual sword coming out of somebody's mouth. But 3D Maker Kid says, nothing against you, but my interests have turned to other channels recently. Just thought I would stop in and say hi. No offense at all, my friend. No offense at all. Uh, Kevin says, how can anyone, and I mean anyone, sit comfortably with their hoard knowing they kept needed items from others? Yeah, it's definitely not a good situation when it comes to that. But like I said, I think capitalism will save the day on that part, at least. Roger says people are losing their minds. Yes. Yes, they are. Had a great time at your birthday, so Melissa. Have a great time at your birthday. You deserve only the best that day and every day. Hey, appreciate that. Had a great birthday, by the way. Really, really enjoyed it. Big Dog says, great sermon today. Thank you, sir. It was a little long again, but I've just been preaching long lately. I don't know what that's all about, um, but yeah, I felt good about the sermon today. I really did. Swan says, I'm in Washington State, and the whole thing seems overblown to me. I went shopping yesterday and found the store completely stocked except for toilet paper. None in the two stores I was at. So bizarre. So bizarre. But that's good in Washington, of all places. You would think there'd be a greater panic there with all of the deaths and all that stuff. So I'm glad that it's even returned to some normalcy there. That's awesome. Swan says, saw this posted on Twitter today. I'm an ER nurse in Washington State, testing tons of people now, but no positives. Just lots of panic overwhelming our staff in the ER. Yeah, and I could totally see that happening. Like people will have the flu or will have a really bad cold, and they'll end up going to the ER, and there'll be a lot of extraneous tests, and I think that's going to be definitely a part of our future here. Melissa says, I don't want to lose you, Pastor Andy. God has a lot of work for you to do and touch people's lives. Totally agree. Totally agree. I think I have a lot of work left to do too, so I'm not planning to go anywhere. But yeah. Josiah says, how do you beat an addiction? Well, it depends on what it is, but I would say there's a few different things that you have to do. Number one, like addiction is not just like I think the in general society has lied to us and told us that addiction is literally just like all in your head, like it's a chemical thing. And so whether it's drugs or pornography or whatever it might be that you're addicted to, that if we can just fix the chemical imbalance or something like that, then then we can, fix you. And I don't think that that's ever going to be effective in the long term. And like replacement therapy or, methadone and that kind of stuff for drug addiction, I do think that it can have a place, but I don't think it's the long term solution at all. And so I think what you have to do is you have to get to the root of the issue. And so, depending on what the addiction is, you have to go after what is the reason that I'm turning to this addiction? What is the thing that is missing in my life that I keep going to these other things? For me, I was addicted to alcohol. I was addicted to kind of like the party lifestyle. Um, I was addicted to many things, honestly. The pornography thing, relationships, turning to all kinds of things that are just not very healthy for you in order to try to um, alleviate pain in life. And so the way that I beat addiction was I found Christ, I found God, and when that happened, it seems like all that emptiness that was inside me, I finally had an outlet. I finally had a real way to solve that pain problem, and it changed me forever. I've never felt addicted to alcohol since then. Not pornography, not any of that stuff. Um, I've had pretty healthy relationships since then. Um, I'm less of a people pleaser, although that's still a little bit of an issue with me. But overall, totally different, transformed person. So I would suggest go that route. If you want to get into more specifics, Josiah, I'd be happy to talk to you or introduce you to some people who would be able to walk you through that process, or you or whoever else. And yeah, but I would say no matter what you're dealing with, addiction always feels hopeless. And I just would encourage you to let you know that it's definitely not hopeless. Everything can be healed, everything can be solved, no matter how far gone you feel that you are. You're never too far gone. Um, there's a plan for you. There's a bigger plan for you, and you don't have to be stuck in that anymore for you or for anyone else. DCB says, my neighbor has Funky Monkey Donuts, and he told me they were really selling outside the coffee shop yesterday. Yeah, my understanding is they sold out of donuts, so they did real well. So that's really exciting as well. I like Funky Monkey, especially the maple bacon donuts. Those are a danger to society, honestly. Talk about addiction. Those things are really good. But anyways, Josiah, I don't know if that helped at all. I hope it did. But anyways, guys, let's continue this conversation and see if we can't create a coalition to help people. And if it does get bad in Armstrong County, just know that it seems like there's enough people just on here tonight that are interested in it that I would be very, very much interested in kind of aggregating a list of needs across the county and helping people because I think there's going to need to be helpers. If it turns out to be anything like Italy or anything like Wuhan province in China, there's going to be an overwhelming number of cases, and if that happens, uh, the world is going to need helpers. It's going to need lights, and we can be that light. We can be those helpers. And so, don't be fearful. Prepare however you need to prepare. Don't be selfish, but make sure that you are um, keeping common sense in mind. Continue to just be ready to be a helper when God calls you to be a helper. And I'll just leave it at that. If we do end up getting to that point where it gets bad, I'll probably do more live streams, more updates, and we'll try to come up with a more detailed plan of how we can be helpers through Living Water Church and through this channel, and we can use our collective resources to be a positive force for change in the world, and continue to do that. You guys already have been, you already are, and we'll make sure that we can continue to do that, especially in a time of crisis, which we're potentially facing. But feels like we're still a good way off from that. If it does ultimately happen here, probably it could be weeks away, could be months away, and it could never come. And so this conversation might be in vain, for at least for this time around. But you never know. There might be a virus that will come around that'll be a lot more dangerous than this one, and kill a lot more, have the potential to kill a lot more people. And we'll be happy that we had this conversation, and be happy that we learned how to prepare in a way that's appropriate, and learned how to not walk in fear as we move forward. Stacy says, we will be making care package for our community, so if anyone needs anything, message me. That's awesome, Stacy. If you wouldn't mind messaging me on Facebook or Instagram, let me know your contact information, and I'd be happy to see how we could connect people that have a need to people like you. Melissa says, Pastor, can you pray for me? Just lost 2 close friends all in one day on Thursday, and tonight had the first viewing for my first friend. Yeah, I was really sorry to hear that. Definitely be praying for you, Melissa, and other people here hopefully will heard your requests and will be praying for you as well. All that being said, I'm extraordinarily tired. Had a long day with church this morning, and then in the garden basically all afternoon. And so I'm going to finish up a couple things and go to bed. But if you all need anything throughout the week, please let me know. I have so many videos in the hopper right now that I need to edit desperately. So I'm going to get to that. Hopefully finish one tonight, and we'll see you guys real soon. Love you all very much. Stay safe, be smart, and be a helper. Talk to you later.